Let's consider the first test. Given is there are more inhabitants of New York City than there are hairs on the head of any inhabitant. Second, no inhabitant is totally bald. The question in the test is, show that there must be at least 2 inhabitants with exactly the same number of hairs. You will have now 15 seconds to try to solve the problem and find the solution. Now I will show my solution of the problem. Let n max is maximum number of hairs on the head of inhabitants, and n capital is number of inhabitants. From the first condition, n must be greater than n max. And then we will do the following assumption. There are no inhabitants with exactly the same number of hairs, and we will find the consequence of this assumption. To do this, we select n max as a small number. In our case, we select n equal 4. It is not a realistic number, but it is not important for us. It means that we have a person with 4 hair. All other persons have number of hairs less than 4 for each. One have 3, 2, and 1 hair. It means that the largest number of inhabitants in our case is equal 4, and this number is equal maximum number of the hair on the head of any inhabitant. So n equal n max. This result is in contradiction to what is given in formulation of the problem. It means that this assumption is incorrect. It is clear that the result doesn't depend on the number which we assign to n max. Now we will summarize what we have. We need to prove that there must be at least 2 inhabitants with exactly the same number of hairs. We made an assumption that there are no inhabitants with exactly the same number of hairs, and we have proven that this statement is incorrect. Then the consequence of this is that the statement there are inhabitants with exactly the same number of hairs is a correct one. As a consequence of this now, we can conclude that the first statement is also correct. So the problem is solved completely. Now I would like to illustrate how everything works for our simple example with n max equal 4. In this case, for our assumption being correct, we have maximum number of person equal 4. But now, because this assumption is incorrect, we can add other inhabitants. For example, we add 1 to have n equal 5. And this guy can have either 4 or 3, 2 or 1 hair. Let's suppose it has 2 hairs, and in this situation we have pair of inhabitants with exactly the same number of hairs. If you have the same solution but different answer, or if you have another solution, please leave a comment and I will reply later. In the second test, it is given that in the city of X, no 2 inhabitants have exactly the same number of hairs. No inhabitant has exactly 518 hairs. And there are more inhabitants than there are hairs on the head of any one inhabitant. The question in the test is, what is the largest possible number of inhabitants of X? At this point, you will have 15 seconds to solve the problem, and then I will show you my solution. As we have done in the test 2, we denote n-max maximum number of hairs on the head of inhabitants, n capital is number of inhabitants, and from the feature 3 we have that n must be greater than n-max. Now we analyze the second given feature, but we replace 518 with more simple number, with 3. So we will analyze the consequences of this statement. First, we assume that n-max is greater than 3, for example, n-max equal 4. It means that we have a person with 4 hairs. All other persons have number of hairs less than 4. We can assume that one of them has 3 hairs, but this is prohibited, so we cancel this case. But we will have another possible cases, the person with 2, 1, and 0 hairs. The last case is possible because nothing is given about bald persons. What we see that the maximum inhabitants in this case is equal 4, and this number is equal n-max, and this result is in contradiction with the condition that n must be greater than n-max. For this reason, this case has no solution. Now we will analyze the case n-max smaller than 3. We will select maximum possible for this case number, so n-max equal 2. We have in this case the person with 2 hairs, with 1, and bald person. So the maximum number of inhabitants equal 3, which is greater than n-max, so it satisfies the condition which is given. And we see that number of inhabitants is equal in this case the prohibited number of hairs. So in our initial problem, the final answer will be n equal 518. If you have the same solution but different answer, or if you have the same answer but different solution, please leave a comment and I will reply later. Also, if you like this video, you may want to hit like icon, leave a comment and subscribe for the channel.